Instructions. On the screen, you will see 10 blue words. Each of these blue words has a corresponding red number to its left. That is the assigned number. Place that number in the box that is in front of the appropriate definition for that word. You will have approximately 2 minutes. Our first word is propensity. A propensity is a tendency, an inclination. If you're bent to do something, a proclivity. If you want to use a sophisticated word, a predilection. Some people have a propensity to drink too much. They become very intoxicated or drunk. But propensity can be used in positive ways as well. You could have a propensity to study too much. I suppose that's good, I don't know. It comes from the Latin propensus, which meant inclined, but if we look at it a little bit further, we can see the pro part, which we've seen in a lot of prefixes. Pro means toward something, to something, such as proceed or propose. The root itself is pen, P-E-N. We see it a lot in English. In English, pen generally means something about hanging or suspending. Think about a pendant. Pendant hangs from your neck. Think about the word suspend. That means to hang up on time, to suspend time. If you append something, you add, you hang on to something, you hang an extra item onto something. It should be paired up with the third one on the list, which is a natural inclination or tendency. Fairly easy word, but remember those prefixes, the pro and the root pen. Our next word is repose. In its broadest sense, repose means to rest, relax, to be tranquil, to be calm, to be peaceful. Sometimes the word is used as a euphemism. For example, you might say a person who's died is lying in repose. Well, they're dead. We don't like to use the word dead in English for some reason. But if you're lying in repose, you're lying in peace and calmness. It sounds a lot better than saying you're dead. I actually think there's a difference between resting and being dead, but it certainly sounds better to say you're lying in repose. Yet for the most part, the word repose refers to somebody who's sleeping or not moving or resting. It comes from the Latin prefix re, and again we have hundreds of words in English that start off with re. It generally means to do something again, or to do something again and again and again. To do something often, in other words, so that would sort of make sense. and its root word is pausere. The Latin word to pause was pausere, and they used it to mean rest or to stop. So basically, if you're not moving, you're pausing a lot. You're in repose. So we still sort of see that sound pause and pose. They seem very, very similar to each other. The word repose should be paired up with the seventh item down on the list, rest or sleep. Our third word is sycophant. Although I do occasionally hear it pronounced sycophant, it should be pronounced sycophant. A sycophant is universally considered a bad word. It's somebody who sort of is self-seeking. They flatter you, but they really aren't sincere about it. And the origin of the word, it's from a Latin word, and that's not going to really help you too much, but it's an interesting origin. It's has something to do with figs or whatever, but it's one of the words in English that really comes from a vulgarity and obscenity, one who shows the fig. And I'm not going to go into details of why it's a vulgarity and the origin of it being a vulgarity, but it is an interesting background on that. Sycophant should be paired with the second definition on the list, a self-serving flatterer. Our next word is upbraid. Upbraid is used in a negative sense. It means to find fault with somebody, to censor them, to really, really scold them. And it's one of these words that come from the Old English Germanic roots. It comes from upbringen, which is a combination of the word up, which we still use in English, go up, and bregen, which was the Old English or Germanic way of saying to intertwine. We still get the whole concept of braid as in braiding your hair. It's intertwining your hair. So we still have that. It's not a common word, but I guess you should know it. It's found in standardized tests, and you might want to know what it means if somebody is upbraiding you. It should be paired up with the ninth definition on the list, to criticize, scold, or reproach. Our next word is an interesting word, vicissitudes. And in the broadest sense, a vicissitude is just a change or variation. In a more strict meaning of the word, it's usually the ups and downs all of us have in life. Some days we feel great, some days we feel bad. We have good years, some years we have bad years. Those are the vicissitudes of life. The word origin is sort of interesting. The VIC part at the beginning, the ves part, we still use in the term of vices and vice president. Vice means in place of, and we have the sesum part. Seed and ses in Latin, sedere and cessare, meant to go. We have a lot of ses sounds in English, ses and seed. For example, in English you can say proceed, reseed, succeed. It all has something to do with going. And of course, if you change those to noun forms, you get procession, recession, succession. There's a lot of seds and sesses in English. Notice that in vice ses attitudes. It should be paired up with the eighth item down, the unexpected changes and shifts that often are encountered in one's life. Going to our next word, a very unchanging word, is immutable. Immutable means unchanging through time. It has the sense that certain things never change. Like a rock. A rock just doesn't change. Of course, if your opinion is very fixed, you say this candidate or that candidate is the best person, you might not want to change your opinion no matter the evidence, and you would be immutable in your opinions. You can see the origin of it. The im part, remember in or am a lot of times means not, and the mute part comes from a Latin word mutare, which meant to change, so it means not to change. We get a lot of mutes in English. Mutation is something that changes. Commute is when you change your location from one to another as you're traveling. Lots of mutes in English. It should be paired up with the sixth item down, not susceptible to change. A good word to remember. Our sixth word is magnanimous. It means very generous and forgiving if you're insulted. That's one meaning of it. Another meaning is more general. It just means that you're high-minded or very noble. So magnanimous is a very good word. And it comes from two Latin roots, surprise, surprise. Magna, which meant great. We get that in words like magnitude or magnificent, or even something like the Magna Carta, the great contract. The root is animus, and in Latin, animus meant spirit or soul. An animal has a spirit. That's why it's an animal. A animation is sort of a cartoon that moves, that looks like the characters are alive, that have a spirit. In Japan, you might see cartoons called anime, and that comes from the same root. So if you have a hatred of spirit of somebody, you have animus against them. So animus usually has spirit. So if you put those two Latin sources together, magna, great, and animus, spirit, somebody with great spirit, you do have somebody who is very generous, maybe somebody who's very forgiving. It should be paired up with the fourth definition down, generous in forgiving or insult or injury. That's a more strict definition. It's sometimes a little bit broader, just being noble. Our eighth word is plethora. Plethora means an overabundance or too much of something. Compare that with the word dearth, which means not enough. It's interesting, we have a lot of words in English that give quantities, and plethora is a very, very useful word when you say you have more than enough. You can use one word instead of three words. It comes from a Latin word which meant fullness. It's from the Greek also. And that's really all we have to say about that. A plethora is a good word to know, though. It should be paired up with the top definition, a great number or an abundance. Our ninth word is not so hard, but you should remember it because it's a nice way of learning other words. Rectify. Rectify means to make, to put up, to set right, to remedy. It means all of those things. And it comes from the Latin word rectus, which meant to be straight. We get all sorts of words, such as correct, means that you have this straight, correct path. Erect, like erect a building, you put a building straight up in the air. Resurrect is maybe come back from the dead. So a lot of recs in English, and anytime you see R-E-C-T, you should realize it has something to do with being correct or straight or upright. It should be paired up with the bottom definition, to set right or correct. Our last word is fey. Fey is a weird word. I don't know if you're going to forget any words on this list. This is a good one to forget, but I do hear it occasionally. It means being of unnaturally high spirits, whimsical or strange. It's sort of a weird word. And a lot of these weird words are Old English Germanic words. It comes from vega, which meant to be doomed to die, and I don't know how you get doomed to die to being unnaturally high spirits. I don't know if I would be high in spirits if I was doomed to die. But it gives you the sense of being whimsical or strange or supernatural. They should be paired up with the fifth one on the list, magical. So those are those 10. Some of them are very useful to know because they'll help you remember other words. So keep those in mind.